Therefore, it should come as no surprise that we are currently observing a good, or at least slight, reversal in the market. We still have a lot of work to do before we can truly become bullish about this next step. I'll go over everything we need to see in this video, including XRP and Bitcoin, as well as what I hope to see this week. Having stated that, let's get started. Let's discuss a few topics. Let's also talk about the weekly candle close. Well, at the moment, fear and greed are around 12. That's a nice little bounce. We are still, of course, terrified. Well, the cryptocurrency market capitalization is nearly back at $3 trillion. We would want to see XRP return above $2 and almost reach $2.10, while Bitcoin returns above 87K. That was a nice little jump. The weekly candle closure was also not too horrible overall. For a while now, I've been discussing how Bitcoin has been closing its weekly candle. In terms of Bitcoin, the level I've been observing is basically around 86.3K. It was a rather decent close. It's not that crazy really. Again, it's a pretty good closing, just over 86.3K, which was our aim, but it's not like a huge momentum push to the upside. Why are we aiming for that? What would happen if you watched the video earlier today? As you are already aware, we had our resistance returning here until March, which is why we primarily wanted to see a closure above this level. Well, and we could construct a floor on it if we could turn opposition into support. We might begin to see a pleasant upswing, which would basically provide us with support. We've experienced this before, retesting significant resistance, holding it and then turning it into support. At that point, some bullish price activity begins to emerge. At that point, we also begin to observe some positive price action. As a result, I'm keeping an eye on whether the current Bitcoin uptrend will continue. Additionally, I'm keeping an eye on if we can sustain this macro higher low, going all the way back to March, which is once again looking quite good structurally. I do not want to see us lose these lows. This week, I'm going to pay careful attention to that. We know that losing this low from back in March of this year is the last straw. That essentially confirms that the market will have a far more severe sell-off, and the show is essentially over. Therefore, the show is still going on. By now, we're most likely at the halftime performance. We want to see something here now. Our primary goal is for Bitcoin to break above the next important objective and form a floor. Our midline is this. This is approximately 100.5K. Our support for that level dates back to June, which is the primary reason we want to see a break over it. I won't get enthusiastic until we begin to completely reverse the resistance levels, though. In practical terms, we would want to see a beautiful weekly candle close of somewhat more than $105,000. That will be a strong indication that the Bitcoins are heading considerably higher and that some of these earlier highs will be retested. So once more, the primary focus of our attention. Therefore, I'd want to see us actually surpass 104.7K. After the aim of 105K is reached, we will just round it up to 105K. This 108K level doesn't even concern me. The 112K level doesn't even concern me. The next major area of resistance, which is approximately 120K, is what matters to me. I am concentrating on those two stops. Apart from that, Bitcoin mostly broke through the highs and reached a new all-time high. So once more, this will be our main focus. We intend to view it. It will require some time. However, so far the weekly close is excellent. It's a great beginning, but nothing too insane or anything. Before I go any further, I would want to briefly inform you all that Decent recently launched its biggest sale of the year. They recently launched their Black Friday offer. By clicking on my links in the description below, you can currently save up to 40%. A single package is discounted by 30%, making it $109 instead of $159, while a double package is discounted to $189 instead of $318. For the entire year, this is one of Decent.says greatest offers, guys. Therefore, if you were considering purchasing a cold storage device or a cryptocurrency-related gift for someone for the holidays, now is the ideal time to do so. My links are included in the description below for your convenience. Having said that, let's discuss the next significant factor, stocks, of course. You know, aside from Bitcoin, stocks have undoubtedly been a major factor as well. The stock market has been declining. This is what we've been examining, and so far things appear to be going well. Nothing out of the ordinary yet. Technically speaking, the S&P is up roughly 35 points based on the futures. We remain utterly terrified. Well, this week is the main thing I'm watching for, but I don't care if it doesn't even happen this week. It may happen next week or the week after. Clearing one of these highs is the primary goal we are pursuing. We must establish a bullish structure on this chart, but it is obvious that if we clear the first one, we will go on to the following few. There have only been lower highs and lower lows thus far. I wish to see this structure removed off the board entirely. Therefore, if we can get a good run-up and move past these two highs, retargeting the all-time high will allow us to maybe surpass it. Once more, the S&P has been somewhat pessimistic. This, in my opinion, is because we want to see a sentiment reset. Additionally, we would like to see the majority of indicators completely reset. In any case, the majority of the indicators have been experiencing a significant decline. Since RSI is still quite heated up here, many investors anticipate that this will simply continue to sell off. However, in practical terms, it's not so hot. Before the price action continued to get even more bizarre, we had these resets in April, July, and September of last year, all around the same range that we had just reset to. Therefore, a simple break of this prior high is what I want to monitor here for the S&P. A clear 6,770 is what I want to see. We'll simply round it to 6,800. A break over 6,800 would be a strong indication that asset risk is still quite optimistic and that we will continue to rise. Once more, this week's primary focus is on stocks, with Bitcoin of course continuing to rise steadily. Well, on Bitcoin, recovering $100,000 will be significant. Regaining it again is a tremendous psychological hurdle. And that's about a $13,000 increase in price action, which will, significantly impact the market. Let's talk about XRP now. It's going to be a busy week, guys. We have a lot of ETF launches, which I will discuss shortly. However, the primary aspect of XRP is that it is now experiencing a minor increase. It doesn't resemble an insane uptrend. Our closing price on the weekly close was about $2.03 or $2.04. Quite near. More than $2 is the key. As I indicated earlier, I believe it was either last week or possibly in the middle of this week. I can't recall exactly what I said, but I do recall saying that we don't want a weekly close that is less than $1.91. It's lovely to see this candle close that we just got. Yes, I would want to see a bit more from XRP this week. Clearing this highlighted area should be the main priority. $2.33 to $2.59. Why stop there too? Technically, starting in October, we do have a significant region of resistance. Therefore, we would be on our way to retesting these prior highs if we cleared $2.65. $5 will effectively be our next stop on XRP if we are able to start seeing a lot of momentum, break the high from July, and begin to clear some of these prior highs. I'm keeping a tight eye on this. There is no deadline for this. We mostly keep an eye on the chart. We keep an eye out for momentum. We keep an eye out for level violations. This also applies to Bitcoin. Stocks are no different. All we need to do is wait for the structure to turn bullish once more. We just sit until that time. We unwind. We have patience. We don't worry too much and enjoy the holiday season. Hear me out. This is not. As long as we continue to sustain those lows, we don't need to worry about what may happen. That's all that counts. Until we recover from these lows and return to April, there is no reason to worry. The similar thing occurs with XRP, which closes below $191 on the weekly chart. That is not what we want to see. In theory, we can start with those April lows. By then, I think we're making a lower bottom, if we've already lost these lows back here. The performance is over. Therefore, until that occurs, there is no reason to worry. Beyond that, what is the primary motivator at the moment? And what is the main item that I'm concentrating on? It's the domination of Bitcoin. This chart appears heavy, guys. What I mean by that, this appears to be a bearish situation. Back to November 3rd, we see a sizable bearish wick here. There have been 3 consecutive bearish weekly candles since then. This chart appears to be quite heavy. Below it, it seems like it wants to fall out. And this is just what we hope to witness. At a time when the market is truly embracing cryptocurrencies, this is extremely positive. As I mentioned earlier, this week is significant for XRP. Yes, it is. There are a ton of ETF launches. We may